I'm a little tired of getting angry at Israel for this ridiculous invasion of Gaza. So I'm trying to remain calm, but they make it hard on you, man. They do. So what they do today, they hit a UN and a Red Cross truck bringing in humanitarian goods. They knew they were UN and Red Cross trucks. The UN truck had a UN insignia on it. It had a UN flag on it. And the UN had told the Israelis, hey, we got a truck full of humanitarian supplies here. And they hit them anyway. And it's not like, don't get me wrong, it's not like the UN was violating any rule or law that the Israeli Defense Forces had put down. They were waiting there to deliver the goods when they were supposed to. And the driver of the UN truck is dead, killed, because they hit the truck. And so the Red Cross, who almost never makes a statement on any of this stuff because they do everything in private so that they could protect the state at the same time as giving the humanitarian relief that is needed, came out and said what Israel did in hitting their truck and hitting their employees was outrageous, and that what Israel's continuing to do in the Gaza Strip is outrageous. Now, it is. Why do you hit the UN on purpose? I mean, it's beyond inexcusable. That goes to show you what you want to do is you want to keep out humanitarian aid at all costs. Not other kind of aid. The UN is not smuggling in weapons, okay? It's not even, nobody's even alleging, even the Israelis don't allege that. And that UN school that they hit, now the final death toll on that is over 40, mostly children. The school that they hit that was supposed to be for people seeking shelter within the UN building, the UN had given them the coordinates. They said, here's the coordinates of our school. This is not used for any enemy firing. It doesn't have any Hamas in it. It has civilians, mainly kids. Please don't hit it. And Israel looked at it, no, so that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and hit it. It's indefensible, man. Even if you are the biggest advocate of Israel, it is indefensible. And, you know, I was talking to a friend about this, something we'd mentioned on the show before. It's true. Even if they thought there was some sort of fire coming from in the direction of the school, even if they were positive of it, forget maybe, would you do it? Would you really kill 40 civilians, mainly children, because you thought there was some sort of gunfire coming from there? No human being would do that. In fact, if you did that here in America, I thought there was some firing going on from that school towards me. I was afraid for my life, so I blew up the whole school, killed 30, 40 people inside. They'd convict you in a second. You'd be a madman. You'd be a psychopath. Okay? So, now, the thing that gets me, though, is this drive to keep humanitarian aid out. It's twisted, and I keep going back to the word indefensible because I don't see their point unless it's cruelty for the sake of cruelty. Unless the point is to oppress the Palestinian people. Because Jimmy Carter wrote an editorial today in the Washington Post called An Unnecessary War. And he explained how the ceasefire came about in the first place. It was partly because of Carter's work. He went in there, and Hamas, who will not recognize Israel, and is terrible, and we can't have any kind of negotiations with or a deal with. Well, they negotiated for the ceasefire, and they kept up their end of the bargain. Carter explains, as every other source explains very clearly, that Israel broke the ceasefire on November 4th when they bombed those tunnels. Now, most people think those tunnels were bringing in weapons. I thought that as well. Jimmy Carter says no, that they were for other reasons. Now, I don't know if that's true or untrue, but let's say they were bringing in some food, some medicine, and some weapons. Nonetheless, bringing in weapons does not equal using weapons. Israel clearly broke the ceasefire. But I'm getting beyond that, too. The other part of it is what disturbs me, and something I did not know before I read Carter's article in the Washington Post. He explains that the ceasefire deal was, hey, Hamas is not firing any rockets into Israel, and Israel lifts the blockade to the point where they allow 700 trucks. Because 700 trucks of goods and food and medicine, etc., was the level that Israel had allowed before they withdrew from Gaza. So before they withdrew from Gaza, they allowed more things into Gaza than they do now. And Israel said, okay, deal. Let's go. Shake on it. We got a deal. And then after the ceasefire began, Israel just didn't do the deal. They allowed 20% of the trucks to come in. So 20% of the goods that were needed in the Gaza Strip, even when Israel was occupying it, is what they allowed in. So Hamas the whole time was like, well, what the hell? They just didn't do their end of the deal at all. So why? Look, you read this stuff and you realize, no. This doesn't have anything to do with protecting Israel. They 100% goaded Hamas into firing those rockets. They did everything they could to get them to fire those rockets. If you had told me that 2 weeks ago, I honestly didn't know all the facts, and I wouldn't have believed it. I would have thought, no, Hamas, they love to fire those rockets, etc. No, but when you look into the facts, it's indisputable. And you look at it and you go, why did Israel want this war so damn badly? One of the reasons we know is because, for political reasons. There are two parties, Labour Party and the Kadima Party, want to show how tough they are. They're like, see, we can kill Palestinians just like the Likud Party. Kill them mercilessly. We can deny them their food and medicine. We're just as bad and quote-unquote tough as they are. I don't think that's tough at all. It's easy to push somebody around when they don't have any ability to fight back against you. So to give you another sense of how much Israel wants this war, so Hamas, who apparently you can't do any negotiations with, said, hey, look, in the middle of this invasion of Gaza, okay, we will do a ceasefire. Again, they're offering another olive branch. I know in America we can't see it that way because Hamas is evil and they're terrorists. And all they ever want is violence, right? That's what we get fed by our media. But Hamas reaches out and says, we will stop the rocket fire, but the thing is, you need to stop the blockade. The whole problem was the blockade in the first place. We don't have any fuel here, we don't have food, we don't have medicine. The malnutrition in Gaza, according to the United Nations right now, is the worst of anywhere on the planet. Anywhere on the planet, okay? So, you know what Israel offers in return? They say, oh yeah? You know how we were only doing 20% of the goods that you could bring in before, even though we were supposed to do 100%? We'll do 15% now. Well, if you say that, that means you don't want a deal. That means you're spitting in their face. What do they expect Hamas to do? So Hamas said no, of course. And so the war continues, and Israel continues to bomb civilians. And at this point, I don't want to hear anything about, Israel killing civilians doesn't count. It doesn't count because it's a government. It's a state, and it's just collateral damage. If you start a war on purpose, and then the UN gives you coordinates for the civilians, and you hit those coordinates to kill the civilians, well, it's not, you're supposed to be neutral in this at best, although the American media is not neutral at all. It's 100% on the side of Israel. So, by the way, our politicians are hideous. They're grotesque. They are so buried up Israel's ass, I can't even see them anymore. Democrats and Republicans alike, every single one of them. Oh, Israel has a right to strike back. Oh, Israel, yeah, he's doing the right thing. Yeah, they should kill all those civilians. That's great. Oh, we love what Israel's doing. Look, I got it, dude. I got it. You think you're going to lose your election if you cross the Israeli lobby. I guess that's what your thoughts are. So you're going to be up their butt, right? But now you're being inhumane. You're being ridiculous. The facts are in. And it's not a matter of neutrality. It's a matter of objectivity. And you look at this thing objectively, and in this case, there is a clear wrong party. It's not, this Middle East violence that goes around and around. Who can tell who started it? They're both at fault, equally at fault. No. In this case, Israel is definitely more at fault. And if you don't like that, then you don't like the facts, and then I can't help you. Now, I did a whole segment yesterday. I did a whole half hour on look at it from the Israeli perspective. But I didn't know the facts that Jimmy Carter's talking about. He's the one that negotiated the ceasefire in the first place. If Israel doesn't follow its end of the peace treaty at all, it doesn't follow the ceasefire, and then it bombs civilians on purpose, then how can I'm trying to see it from their perspective, but I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. And the reason I'm angrier today is because I'm after all this time, I'm still naive. I think people don't want to kill civilians on purpose. Why? I know Israelis. I've met Israelis, and they don't seem like the kind of people who want to do this. And it's not them, right? It's their government, right? But at the same time, they're voting for this government. And I just can't get it through my thick head that people would want to do this on purpose. Now, if it's a quote-unquote terrorist group, I still get it. And not by get it, I mean I understand that they might on purpose kill civilians and how terrible that is, right? Or it might be a lone suicide bomber, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't believe that a government would say, yeah, let's try to crush these people and oppress them so badly that they do what? They give up? They say, okay, Israel, you win. You're stronger than us. What would you like? I mean, you built this giant prison in Gaza. All the borders are sealed off. These people can't get anything. When the UN and Red Cross try to bring something in, you bomb them. And when you see it that way, you say, I mean, what kind of grotesque people are you? I'm referring to the Israeli government and the people inside that government and the actions they've taken. So, and you're doing yourself so much damage. It's not just that you're killing the Palestinians. It's that you're doing yourself so much damage. It's so profoundly stupid. Look, even if you crush their spirit and you crush them to the point where they don't have food, they don't have medicine, they've been bombed, and they are willing to make a deal now, and it totally favors you. Congratulations, you won, right? But that's a deal that is not going to last in the long run, because it's made by unequal partners. And eventually, the Palestinians are going to rebel at that. And then what will happen? The Israelis will say, see, we gave them some place, like the Gaza Strip, and they're still throwing rockets. And you know what? I said that. I said that earlier. But I didn't know why. Or I didn't know it enough, apparently. Despite all this, I still think the Palestinians are going about this the wrong way. They're never going to beat Israel by military tactics and through violence. They're still much better off, in my opinion, pursuing nonviolence.